Are you ready to turn your successful business into the next great franchise brand? Hi, I'm Todd Abraham, franchise consultant with Franchise Marketing Systems, the #1 franchise consulting company in America and Canada. If you've ever thought about franchising your business, now's the time to explore the possibilities. And my consulting services are completely free to any entrepreneur looking to create a franchise from their proven business model. At Franchise Marketing Systems, we handle everything: your franchise disclosure document, federal trademark filing, franchise information website, business plan, and so much more. And the best part, we make it affordable, breaking project fees into 6 to 8 easy monthly installments. So before you take your business nationwide, get the expert guidance you deserve with no pressure and no upfront cost. Call Todd Abraham today at 423-381-0925 for your free consultation. That's 423-381-0925. Todd Abraham with Franchise Marketing Systems, your one-stop shop for everything franchising. All right. Hello, franchising world. My name is Todd Abraham, and today I am blessed to be here with the founder and CEO of Franchise Marketing Systems, your one-stop shop for everything franchising, Mr. Chris Connor. Mr. Chris Connor, welcome to the show, for lack of a better word. How we doing?
Oh, doing great. Thank you, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And so just to get this out there nice and early in this just relaxed interview, but there used to be a company in Atlanta that was really big called Hair Club for Men, and the guy who was the president of the company, his slogan was, he goes, "I'm not just the president," he goes, "I'm also a client." And so that's the case with me. So I am the publisher of Heartbeat Christian News, the founder of Franchise Radio, and I'm also a client of Franchise Marketing Systems. The Lord brought me together with FMS, and it has truly been a match made in heaven. And Chris and his team are dynamic in their professionalism, just a wholesome, hardworking company. And I couldn't be more thrilled to be connected with you guys. But I want to talk about what got you started for the idea of Franchise Marketing Systems, and give us a little bit of background about your experience prior to starting FMS.
Well, thank you so much for that, Todd. We feel, our whole team feels the same way about you. It's been such a blessing to be able to get to know you personally, professionally, your vision, your dedication to the business, and your mission to bring faith-based news and readership through a profitable vehicle. It's such a great model, and there's not often businesses that you have a combination of goodwill and good things that are coming out of it, spreading faith, doing good things, and also giving people a profitable business model they can earn a great living doing, with not a big upfront investment. So echo all the things you said. Thank you so much for that, though, for the compliments and great things that you shared. So I've been in this business helping companies franchise for 25 years. I started out with a firm in Chicago where I learned the franchise business, basically. To me, before that, a franchise was a place you got donuts or a hamburger or a chicken sandwich from, and that was about all I knew. And went to work for this company that was kind of the first to do franchise work. The guy at the time was in his 70s. He had started the business in the early 70s, late 60s, and he was the top person in this industry. And when I went to work for him, I had the opportunity to work with Jimmy John's from the beginning, and Ace Hardware, and Culver's, and Auntie Anne's, and European Wax Center, and some brands that really did well. And I got to experience firsthand how powerful the franchise model could be, what it could do for a brand, how it removed a lot of the risks that came with growth, how it also turned some businesses that traditionally are not scalable into a scalable platform, and allowed them to grow much more quickly, much faster, much more efficiently. And I kind of fell in love with the whole model of franchising after being in the industry just for a little bit. and entrepreneurship. I am so passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm such a proponent, and that's one of the reasons why I really support franchising, is that it can help people who have not necessarily don't have a natural path to entrepreneurship. It helps give them the support and the blueprint and the confidence they need many times to be able to become a business owner. So I worked for that company till '09, and then when the recession hit, I was not a natural entrepreneur, and I have endless respect for someone like you who paves their own path and jumps into things and doesn't overthink, analysis to paralysis type thing. I'm not that person. I was the other side. I'm the the person that probably would be a good employee, the good student. I followed the rules, that kind of thing. Entrepreneurs are the opposite usually. And I probably never would have started my own thing had I not had to. And I lost my job. The place kind of folded that I worked for. And that was the kick in the rear end that said, hey, get out there. I started FMS in 2009. And we do a lot of the same work I was doing before, helping companies become a franchise, but we also sell them. And we market, we promote, and we actually execute franchise sales. And we've done that now for 15 years. We have 38 people on our team, and we've franchised just over 800 different businesses and sold over 10,000 units across all of them. So there's been a handful that have been really, really big home runs.
One of the things that impressed me really, because is when I'm a firm believer, doing due diligence and market research or whatever, is the fact that you guys have 42 5-star reviews, and your fee is not inexpensive by any means. It's not expensive either, but it's enough to where when you have 42 5-star reviews at that price point, and what I love is the fact you break it up in to 6 or 8 monthly payments. But I mean, that is such a strong testimony, because it's hard enough to get 5-star reviews on a small business, much less when you're charging the kind of money that it takes to create a business into a franchise. But like I said, not to beat on the price point, but I'm mostly spotlighting those reviews and saying, it's like I told my older brother. I said, because he's like, well, did you get some references or whatever? I said, I didn't need them. I said, they had 42 5-star reviews. I said, then when you go to their website, I said, they've got over 300 clients, and most of your units that you've sold, the minimum locations they have is about 20 from everything that I saw.
Well, I thank you for saying that. Definitely, if there's one thing that I would say we are absolutely 1,000% committed to, it's doing everything in our power to make it as a great client relationship, and positive and fun, and also productive. Because we sell the franchise, it feels more like a partnership. So we're
Right.
in this with you, and we're in the trenches with you. We're doing everything we can to work through these deals. We're working the trade shows. We're doing the follow-up. We have a lending team, so we can help people get loans to actually buy the franchise too. And that puts us in alignment, where my previous 8 years doing this, before I started FMS, it was very transactional. It felt like there was like an exchange of money for services, and after that was done, both parties went their own way. And
Right.
I didn't feel good about it. I didn't like the dynamic of it. It just wasn't fulfilling. Here, we've worked with many of the same companies now for 8, 9, 10 years. And it's because the fact that we're involved, we're incentivized, and we're motivated to help actually take the brand to market, close deals, bring in good partners, and keep moving the brand forward. And that aligns us together. So everybody's usually happy.
Yeah, that's what I love about your pricing structure is the fact that you do break it up into like 6 or 8 monthly payments. Because like you told me, you don't want to take all of this entrepreneur's money up front and leave them with nothing while you're creating the business. And so like your brother Tim was telling me when we talked earlier today, it's like the clients feel like you just said, we're working together as a team, and we'll become successful together as a team. So you're learning their business, they're learning how you're your business, but you're doing it together. So by the time they're ready to franchise and go start selling, now you guys, like you said, you're also going to help them sell, and they're going to be totally informed about the whole process. When I just think that's awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that brings up a good point too. I do think there is a value. Doesn't have to be done this way, but I do think there's a value in having the team that built the franchise also being the team that's selling it.
Right.
That we put this together in a certain way for a reason with you, and when we start presenting to people, A, we can answer questions as if we were part of the organization for a long time, but B, we know what questions we're going to get. We've
Right.
understood the objections. We hear the hesitation in a franchise buyer. There's a unique position when you first go to market as a franchise brand. When you have 50 locations, it's a lot easier to sell number 51 than it is number 1.
Right.
Buyers can talk to 50 different people. They can hear praise. They can hear how great your support was, your training, your how many different examples we have of success. Where when we're selling our first 1, 2, 3 units, we do have to overcome some additional levels of questions and concerns, and we definitely will be perceived as having a higher degree of risk because we don't have other people we can point to as wins. Most of our selling, that's what we're selling, is units 1 through 10, 1 through 20. So it's just a different dynamic. It's getting comfortable with it. It's knowing how to navigate what things you should be putting in your program and what things you shouldn't. Just an hour ago, we sold the first location for a healthcare related franchise in central New Jersey, and there were probably 6 rounds of negotiations on this
Wow.
on this FDD, and my advice to her, she's this brilliant entrepreneur, was always take a step back. Don't look at this as a one and done. This partner, should we be able to get this done, even if you gave up on the franchise fee, part of the franchise fee, you gave them a discount on royalties, you gave them a bigger territory, they will lead to our next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sales twice as fast than if we don't get this partner in. Also,
Right.
they'll pay royalties for 10, 20 years. All of this turns into be a phenomenal win for your company. She has
Yes.
one location. So with this franchise addition, she now has effectively doubled her presence as an organization. It's a monumental win. And if I can help navigate that a little bit, if we can, then we get to number 3 quicker, and number 4, number 5. And we've had some brands that we started with 1 and now they're at 400, 500, 600 units.
Yeah,
And
we were just talking about that. It's like that's the goal with Heartbeat Christian News: sell the first franchise. Not whatever it takes, but bend if you have to, because you got to give God something to multiply, and so I mean, that's a very good business strategy, to say the least. And on a side note, I wanted to say this, and for those who are listening, I just want you to know that none of this is scripted. I'm speaking strictly from the heart. But I'm 55. I've been in business for a long time. I've been at about every level of executive type positions, except for maybe the CEO of a company. But so I've met a lot of high level executives. I've met a lot of CEOs and company leaders. But from my experience, and Chris, you're like one of the hardest working, most humble CEOs I have personally ever met. And that was such an honor because, like I said, I haven't known you that long, but I know people, and I know my experience and what I've met in the past. And like you told me, it's like when you started this company, it's like you figure, well, I'll just work 100 hours a week for 15 years and make a successful company. So where does your work ethic come from?
well, it's funny because I've heard other entrepreneurs say this, but if I rewound time and I knew what I was going to do over the last 15 years and how much work it was, I'm not sure I'd have the gumption to do it again. It just happened. I mean, for one, I had to make this work. My family was dependent on it. I needed it to earn a living. So I was one of those entrepreneurs that, I had no money. I had no, no support. It was just me fighting for my life every day for the first still feel like I'm fighting for my life most days, but definitely in those first.
I know what that feels like. Let me tell you. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, when we started Heartbeat Christian News, I mean, we started with no budget. I was working like 2 or 3 other jobs and still serving full time in the ministry. I was selling ads for $10 a month. But I believe this way from a faith standpoint. I believe that you are where the Lord has ordained you to be. Because, like you said, and like I've taught, God qualifies the called, not the other way around. And if you had to pick to do this just without any pressure, you wouldn't have picked to do it. But then you turn right around and look at how God has blessed your business to be so successful. And that's what, to me, shows that it's the Lord that ordained you and brought you into this business and has made you so successful, and that brought us together as, two companies. So I'm impressed because, the Bible teaches a man's gift to make room for him and bring him before great men. So I think you found your niche, my friend.
Thank you. I really do love what I do, and that helps when you have passion and
Yes.
and you're excited to get up, and you don't have to set an alarm. You get up and you jump to it. And if anything, it creates problems for my personal life trying to keep balance because I really could work 24 hours every day. But the thing that I just absolutely am so passionate about is working with the entrepreneurs, and you're one of them. Todd, you are one of those people that, how many people on the planet would work 4 jobs to continue to build towards a mission and have the faith and the passion and the energy to keep doing that, when I'm sure there had to be so many days, so many weeks, so many months where everyone you knew was questioning or giving you other options, saying, hey, why don't you try this or do that? But you kept your head down, you kept focusing. I just have endless respect for people like you, and I love to be around you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the only individual person that can get any glory for this is God Almighty. Because, like I said, I mean, I'm human, but even the faith that God gave me to even start this and to keep it going, whatever it took. I mean, my faith that the Lord gave me is greater than the doubts and the despair and the no's and, like you said, the rejection and the bad ideas. And, in fact, one of my close family members told me right before all this really took off, it's like, you'll never do it. And I got so excited because I was like, well, thank you for telling God he'll never do it, because he loves stuff like that, because that just gives him more fuel for the fire to make it happen.
Yeah, every entrepreneur has a great story, and I don't know that any entrepreneur has ever had a straight line to success. There's always a whole bunch of zigs and zags and ups and downs, and unforeseen cliffs and mountains and things like that. But that's what makes entrepreneurship so great. And I think you had a little bit of this too, where I came from the employee world.
Right.
And it was so hard to see the opportunity when all I was focused on was the safety of the floor beneath me.
Right.
I had a paycheck, I had a 401k, I had insurance, I had things that I just couldn't possibly envision doing without. And then once that floor was kind of pulled out from underneath me, in my case, I looked up and I realized there's this whole world that's been above me that I never even realized was there. And all this opportunity, I didn't even need to pay attention to the safety of a regular paycheck. So I think everyone needs to find their own path, their own vision, their own passion. But anytime I talk to someone who's even remotely considering entrepreneurship, I just tell them, you've got to keep working at it. You've got to find it, because I can tell you, once you do, you will never feel so fulfilled. You'll never be happier. You will never love to do your work more than if you own it, and it's yours, and it's your vision.
Yeah, and just in my experience, because like I said, I own several businesses now, and then I've helped start quite a few companies, and then I've owned other businesses in the past. But in my experience, based on everything that I've learned in just a few short months I've been involved with your company, and of course, as soon as I learned about it, I immediately start wanting to learn as much as I can about whatever I'm involved in, so I'll be completely educated, and then I can do all I can do to help. But long story short, franchising to me is the best way to grow your business for so many reasons. And some of those, like I said, was what I wrote in that article, is like, one, because you're already buying into a proven business model. And then so you've got something that somebody else has already proven, so you don't have to go like I did, and had no experience whatsoever on the production side of the newspaper, and just wing it until I learned it. And then to have a company like Franchise Marketing Systems to help guide you through that. I mean, your company is like the safari guide in Africa that keeps people from getting eaten by lions, because there's a lot of lions out there in the business world that like to gobble up small business people. So you guys are that guide that helps kind of get them from point A to point B, so where they can feel like, all right, now I'm where I need to be.
Well, thank you, and I think you can compare what we do and how we work to in many ways to a franchisor working with a franchisee. We want to be a resource for every element of this business and every step of that journey, from a successful business, 1-2 locations, to transitioning into a franchise platform where your roles and your responsibilities change. The customer now becomes a franchise investor, someone who's buying the business, not the product or the service. There's a lot of different nuances that come with being a franchisor. Some of those things just require patience and a different mindset, but our job is to help make sure that we can be the conduit to get the entrepreneur there. And at some point, the entrepreneur should fire us. I mean, we should be replaced. There should be a full-time person that comes in and will help run the franchise organization. We can always be there to support them and be an extra hand. But the idea here is not to have someone that's sufficient, that relies on us forever. They should become self-sufficient. We want to help them get there. Get a franchise director. Get someone who's leading your organization, who can help run it, focus on it. And at that point, the business really should be able to feed itself and pay for itself, and that's our job, is to get it to that point where it's cash flowing and it's working financially. We have proof of concept, and now the business can really scale.
Well, Truett Cathy, that started Chick-fil-A, I mean, he was a man of vision, and the man that he chose to be the president, like you said, the director that kind of led the operations, he didn't tell him what to do. He just gave him the resources to get it done. And all he told him was, he said, look, I want you to open new restaurants, but I want you to keep them open. And that's the difference in a leader and a boss. As a leader will empower you, and that sounds like what y'all are doing, to how to be successful in your business model, as opposed to just trying to tell them, what to do, and then just constantly, just kind of being there. So it's a really good system. And what else I love about what y'all do is, I mean, like you said, it's a complete package, and there is no stone left unturned, because before I found out about franchise marketing systems, the only method that I knew was a franchise attorney, and that was going to run me between $35,000 and $50,000. And of course, I didn't have it, didn't know how to raise it. But then I thought, well, if they do my franchise disclosure document and I write them a check for that much money, what do I do after that? And that's what's great about you guys, is that y'all take care of everything else: the business plan, the LLC, the marketing plan, even the operations manual, filing the FDD with all 50 states. And then, like you said, we've been talking about, once everything's done, then everybody goes to work trying to sell these franchise units. So, wow.
Thank you. And the idea here is definitely to have all of the required pieces and a full comprehensive offering. So by the time that we get to market, we can present to someone with complete confidence that we've thought through this from a strategic standpoint. We know that the numbers are fair and equitable to both parties, the franchisor and the franchisee, that we've defined territories correctly, franchise fees, royalties, marketing fund contribution. There's a solid training program in place. and everything is in order so that this can work well for both parties. Now, both parties have to execute and perform,
Right.
but we know we've built it with a good foundation. There needs to be the right legal documents. We do work with franchise lawyers, absolutely a key component to this, to have good legal documentation and make sure we're covered from a compliance standpoint, and then we have the necessary registrations done, and then the operations and training documentation, that we have all the right pieces in place to be able to teach, train, and then hold a franchisee accountable to our methodology and our requirements and our vendor arrangements and everything else, and all the right marketing pieces so that we can effectively present this to an investor that, again, they're not looking at us from a consumer standpoint, in Heartbeat Christian News standpoint. They're not looking at it as an advertiser. They're now looking at it, can I trust Todd? Do I feel like Todd has a business model that will give me the necessary tools and the infrastructure? Will he be able to train me and support me? And will this be a business that I can earn a living off of and support my family? Those are the things.
Something that I wanted to be clear on, because we've been super positive, nothing wrong with that. But just to be clear, my understanding is it's not every company that comes to you that wants to hire you to create a franchise out of them. Y'all won't necessarily say yes every time. In other words, you'll take a very good, educated look at it with all your experience, and if there's something that they're lacking or whatever, you'll be right up front and let them know. It's like, well, you've got a good business model, but there's still a few key elements that you need to develop before we would feel comfortable getting you signed up and getting you started. Is that the case?
It definitely is. And again, going back to the beginning part of this, because we are selling this, we have to develop models that we feel are capable of doing this. In my previous world, there wasn't really that incentive. They were going to produce documents for anyone who could pay for it, and
Right.
and that was kind of the end of the engagement. In our world, we are at the front line of convincing people to do this and convincing people to invest and convince people to join. We have to work with models and brands that we feel have the potential, that there's some merit to the offering, that there's a market for the offering, and that the numbers add up. And what we'll look at is the investment to get in and the profit margin on the revenues, how quickly they can see a return on investment on those dollars in. And in a business that has maybe a really high initial investment and really low profit margins, it's going to be tough to convince people to join when it might take them 10 or more years to see a return on that investment.
Right, because the average business projection is, you should be able to turn a profit at least in 5 years or less, right?
For fixed location businesses, that would be the target. If you have to build out a space, 3 to 5 years would be our target, how long it takes to get a return on that money to open it up. In a services model where you don't have a big upfront sort of commitment to it, we would want less, just because you don't have the big upfront number, and usually your margins are going to be better. So that again was something that we looked at with Heartbeat that we really like.
Well, here's the thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is just something that I give God the glory for showing me. But like, you take a business owner who has built a very professional brand, and they're ready to, or at least they would be able to go ahead and hire FMS to create a franchise out of them. In other words, they've got the funds to do it, whether it's if they're going to write a check or do it in a payment installment. But to me, it's common sense that if they are franchisable and they've got the funds to do it, it doesn't make sense for them not to do it from my viewpoint, because A, your fee is tax deductible, so they got a good tax write-off, and B, you can't sell what's not been made. I can't sell you a piece of pottery if I don't make it first. But if the company has got the financial prowess to be able to hire FMS, create a franchise out of them, and absorb that until they begin to sell, even if they didn't, it's like, to me, just common sense, they'd be crazy not to, because, once it gets done, and it's a win-win. That's what I feel like anyway.
Well, and I definitely agree with you. I do think franchising is not for everyone, and most of my day is spent interviewing and presenting and helping companies evaluate franchising. You have to have a vision as an entrepreneur to scale this and to grow it and to expand into new markets. That has to be at the core of what you would like to do with your business for franchising to make sense.
Right.
And And sometimes we'll have conversations with people that's just not really part of their primary interests. And there's other ways to open up 2 or 3 locations that probably are more efficient. Do
Right.
some joint ventures, do partnerships, that kind of thing. But that would be one. The second thing is, as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing and able to share ideas, trust that you can teach someone how to do what you do as effectively, maybe more, and also have the patience to work with people who come into this business, your business, won't be as proficient as you are, and you'll work with them through what might seem like dumb questions and things that could easily get frustrating and annoying to have to answer over and over and over again, which is not typically a normal trait of an entrepreneur to have patience. And it's definitely something you need in franchising, because we are now nurturing. And many entrepreneurs come from a world of kill or be killed. And that's what we've lived in. That's what we've been through. So that takes some time and energy to work through. But the entrepreneur has to be willing to do that and take those steps. The entrepreneur also has to be willing to package up what they do into some systems and a tight, neat box so that we can give it to someone who probably doesn't have the talent and the natural God-given ability to jump into any situation and figure it out. Otherwise, they would be an entrepreneur. But with this system, with this package, with the right technology, as a franchise owner, we should be able to give them enough tools to help them ramp up, get to profitability, and be more efficient. And as the entrepreneur, we have to be willing to do these things. We can help with all of this, but it's things that the entrepreneur has to want in order for it to make sense too.
Well, I wanted to say something really lighthearted, just to kind of add a little humor to this, because we're about getting ready to wrap up here. But, you were talking about questions and how, you might get posed the same question many times. And if you have any age on you at all, we've all heard the old say, there's no such thing as a stupid question, but there's exceptions to every rule. And when I worked as a server at Cracker Barrel, one of the guys that worked with me, he went up to our store manager. He said, Steve, he said, is there butter in our margarine? Oh my God, I lost it. I said, it just shows that there is an exception to every rule. Is there butter in our margarine? I mean, oh my God, it was amazing.
Truly, I mean, that just feeds back into the whole point there, just that I'd say that as a franchisor, you need to be prepared. If you franchise your business, you need to be prepared to coach people, mentor them, and give them real, tangible business advice. Here's how you execute this part of the business. Here's how you do this. That's probably 60, 70% of your job. There's another 30 or 40% of your job that you need to be a ready and willing mental health counselor.
Yeah.
And when someone calls at 9 p.m., and they will, the franchisee, and says, I'm too scared, I hate this, it's not working out, things aren't going the way I thought they were going to be, that you as the franchisor can help give them the confidence and the nurturing and the pat on the back to say, you're doing the right thing, keep taking those next steps, I've been through it, trust me, and help them instead of jumping off that ledge, they step back off and jump back into it. And that's part of the job as a franchisor.
Well, that's one of the blessings of Heartbeat Christian News, is that I did not have any experience on the production side of the newspaper business. And even though people had told me for years you're a good salesman, I never had sold any advertising. And of course, I had to learn it all, basically what they say, the hard way. But I've even offered, and this is for anybody going forward who buys a franchise in Heartbeat Christian News, if you get a potential advertising client that you feel could be a good sell for you, and, you just need that little extra push to help get them to buy, I mean, you're welcome to call me, and I'll jump right in there on a 3-way call, or, and see if I can help you close the deal, because, I mean, I am totally 1,000% vested in the success of the folks who buy franchise in Heartbeat Christian News. And it's not for the money's sake, it's because my passion, my vision is to get this newspaper to as many cities as I can, because it's the Lord's work, and that'd be one advantage of buying a franchise in this newspaper is that it is the Lord's work, and if they come into it by faith with that in their heart, I mean, they ought to be able to do fantastic. That'd be really good.
I completely agree. Completely agree, and I think this is a business that can work in just about any market where you have enough businesses and you've got the right population density. It's simple, it's clean. You can do it without any employees day one. I mean, there's a lot of selling points. Lot of selling points.
Well, this is our first interview with the Franchise Marketing Systems podcast series. Chris Connor is the president CEO. Thanks so much for joining us. Just kind of stay tuned. We're going to have interviews coming with all the key team members of Franchise Marketing Systems in the days ahead, Lord willing. Just very excited with what you guys are doing, not just for us, but for other companies. Because again, I feel like Franchise Marketing Systems is totally 100% committed to getting in the ring with this person like a boxing match, as opposed to coaching from outside the corner of the ring, and saying duck, punch, swing, pow, bang, so that's really a good thing. And but it's just been a pleasure talking with you, Chris. And what I love about it is that, like I said, we talked about before, when I was in home-based business, I hosted over 1,000 conference calls, and most all those calls were not scripted because I speak much more effectively from the heart than if I'm trying to read a script. And nothing that you have said here today has been scripted whatsoever, but it's like you don't stumble for answers. I mean, so in other words, my point is you can tell this is part of you. This is your passion, your vision, and the fact that, FMS is an honest company, like who's got their your company set up to what's the word? Like we talked about, to be successful together as you're building this company into a franchise and getting ready to sell. By the time you get to that point, it's like we're a family and let's go get this thing done,
Thank you. That's definitely what I and we would like this to feel like and be like. And I think there's so much opportunity out there in the franchise space, and for anyone who owns a business who has looked at ways to grow, would love to talk with you about the whole franchise model and help you evaluate whether franchising could be a viable path for you. And anyone that's considering investing in a franchise, we'd love to speak with you and help you analyze and evaluate and figure out which franchise opportunities might be worth considering. I think Heartbeat Christian News should be one of those that you look at and consider if you've got an aptitude for sales and an interest in a faith-based business as well.
And low overhead. Low overhead. So if you want to get in touch with Franchise Marketing Systems, their website is F as in franchise, M as in marketing, S as in systems, fmsfranchise.com. All their information there. They're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can follow them there. All of their consultation starting out is completely free, no pressure. So even if you're just thinking about it, starting a business and maybe franchising it down the road, they're willing to talk with you. And you literally will feel like you're amongst, good friends like I did when I came down to y'all's home office there in Alpharetta. So thank you, Chris Connor, the president, founder, CEO of Franchise Marketing Systems, and to your awesome team. You're listening to the Toddcaster on franchiseradio.net. And stay tuned because, like I said, we're going to have more team members from Franchise Marketing Systems in the days ahead, Lord willing. And until we meet again, God bless, and come back and see us.
Thank you.
Are you ready to turn your successful business into the next great franchise brand? Hi, I'm Todd Abraham, franchise consultant with Franchise Marketing Systems, the #1 franchise consulting company in America and Canada. If you've ever thought about franchising your business, now's the time to explore the possibilities. And my consulting services are completely free to any entrepreneur looking to create a franchise from their proven business model. At Franchise Marketing Systems, we handle everything: your franchise disclosure document, federal trademark filing, franchise information website, business plan, and so much more. And the best part, we make it affordable, breaking project fees into 6 to 8 easy monthly installments. So before you take your business nationwide, get the expert guidance you deserve with no pressure and no upfront cost. Call Todd Abraham today at 423-381-0925 for your free consultation. That's 423-381-0925. Todd Abraham with Franchise Marketing Systems, your one-stop shop for everything franchising.